Now, sometimes things are just too symbolic to ignore, but look at my UN flag here. I got it somewhere, some war zone, disaster zone. I don't even remember where I got it, but it's fraying. It's full of holes. They look like bullet holes. They're not, but they might as well be. The UN is in trouble, folks. The UN was set up 80 years ago to prevent war and preserve international peace and security. What more laudable goals could it have had than that? It's entrusted with managing the entire international human rights system, providing food to the hungry and shelter to the homeless and the landless and the displaced, providing free vaccinations to people across the world, trying to eradicate disease-carrying mosquitoes, helping build schools and educational facilities across the world, managing environmental issues, trying to tackle the climate change crisis, managing disarmament talks, managing the decolonization process. The list goes on and on and on. The entire world has vested so much hope and so much responsibility onto the United Nations, but it's never funded it adequately. It's never given it the full amount of resources needed to achieve the objectives which are clearly articulated in the United Nations Charter, which will turn 80 years of age in just 2 weeks' time. We'll be releasing a special edition of Democracy Tomorrow on the 26th of June to celebrate the 80 years that have passed since the Charter was approved in San Francisco on June 26, 1945. This is the document that holds us all together. It's not strong enough, it's not powerful enough, but the essence of it is as in place today as it ever has been. We need to use the 80th anniversary to reflect on what the United Nations is, what it does, and what it could be. We believe that the budget of the United Nations Charter, the United Nations organization that manages the implementation of the Charter, is far too low. How much do you think the United Nations Secretariat spends in a year? Take a guess before I tell you. What do you think off the top of your head? Well, here's the answer. As approved by the United Nations General Assembly, all the member states of the UN, 193 nation states. Remember, only 51 nation states were present in San Francisco in 1945 when the charter was approved. Since then, 140 plus new countries have come into existence. Almost every single one of those processes was led and coordinated by the UN. That's just one of the things they do, which gets very, very little attention. The achievements of the UN are extraordinary. Every single day, 130,000 plus people are working to implement the terms of the Charter and designed ultimately to improve your life, no matter where you are. You might be in Kentucky, you might be in Kinshasa, you might be in Kigali, you might be anywhere. But the UN is there for you, and it's really important to remember that. Now, what is the budget? The budget of the Secretariat of the UN, which is meant to manage all of these various activities. Last year, the most recent budget approved, $3.72 billion US dollars. 3.72 billion. That may sound like a lot, but when we compare it to certain things, you'll see that its size is actually tiny compared to what the UN is expected to do. What is that the equivalent to? It's the equivalent to the national budget of Suriname. Little Suriname on the north coast of South America, that government in a country with just a few 100,000 people has the same budget as the entire UN Secretariat. Similarly, the budget of the government of Bhutan in Asia is also around that level. If you take all of the different UN programs, so the peacekeeping operation, which is one of the biggest, the United Nations High Commissioner for Refugees, UNHCR, the International Criminal Court, the World Health Organization, UNESCO, and all of the others, the grand total expenditure of the UN last year was around 70 billion US dollars. So you have the Secretariat budget, which enables the entire thing to function, the big building in New York and elsewhere. And then you have the actual programs and activities So we have 3.7 billion at the Secretariat. We have 70 billion for all of the different programs across the world. What is the 70 billion equivalent to? Well, the national budget of Democratic Republic of the Congo, one of the world's poorest countries, Belarus in Eastern Europe, or the government of Angola. It's spend roughly $70 billion per year, the same as all UN activities all across the world, affecting every single country on the planet. If we go back to the Secretariat budget of 3.72, at the company level, that's equivalent to the market cap of Mazda car company, Acer computer company, Thai life insurance company, and Unilever Indonesia. So each one of those individual companies has the same market cap value as the entire operating budget of the UN Secretariat. If we look at the larger figure of 70 billion, all of the different activities, that's the same as Marriott Hotels, Petrobras, oil company in Brazil, PayPal, and other companies around that same level. We're not talking about a lot of money in the global scheme of things. The global economy now is 115 trillion US dollars. 115 trillion. It's never been as high as that. There is more money available on planet Earth right now than at any time in the history of humanity. How much is that vis-a-vis the entire UN budget? Well, if we take the 70 billion figure, that is precisely 1,642 times larger than all of the UN activities combined. 1,642 times. If we look at it from the perspective of the Secretariat budget, it's a staggering 31,000 times bigger than the entire Secretariat budget. So for every $1 that's spent by the UN Secretariat to run the entire organization of the United Nations, which is meant to improve life and living conditions across the world for all 8 billion of us, for every $1 spent on that, the world economy generates $31,000. This is a ratio which is completely unacceptable and staggering and shocking when you finally come to learn of it. So what can we do to increase the UN budget? This is not the time to talk about decreasing the UN budget. We need the UN more than ever. It achieves so much. And there's a reason why every country in the world wants to be part of the UN. But it needs to be adequately funded once and for all. There are always budget shortfalls. There are always promises made that are then not kept. And now you have this very active process by what was, or perhaps still is for at least another few months, the largest donor of the United Nations, the United States, the country in which the headquarters is in existence in New York, cutting budgets dramatically, including, of course, the United States Agency for International Development, which effectively doesn't exist anymore, and which kind of blew wind into the sails of those who are not particularly favorably inclined towards the international humanitarian movement. These are all very tragic initiatives, and we need to put wind back into the sails of the UN and try to find the resources that we need in order to do it. You can see that we have the resources, $115 trillion economy in the world. Surely there's got to be a way to increase the budget of the UN and enable it finally to achieve what the Charter has promised for all of those 80 years. So here's one way. We can increase the budget of the International Secretariat of the United Nations by 40 times what it is now, were we to establish globally what could be called a world peace tax. The world peace tax would be 1% of the total net worth of all of the world's 2,900 plus or minus billionaires imposed on an annual basis. If we were to do that today, knowing, of course, that the collective net worth of the world's billionaire class is approximately $15 trillion, we would achieve an amount of $150 billion a year to fund activities of the United Nations, more than 2 times what the current overall expenditure is, and more than 40 times what the current expenditure is at the International Secretariat. This is an amount which not a single billionaire would even notice missing. It would be a very concrete way for the world's wealthiest people to clearly and transparently contribute to building a better world, to managing and improving global peace and security, improving development prospects, improving stability in societies, which is good for the bottom line, helping people come out of poverty and creating the ability for hundreds of millions or billions of people who cannot afford to buy things right now except for the basics to enter the global economy. And the list goes on. The value added by that 1% tax would be immense and clearly seen very quickly in terms of concrete changes throughout the world. So that's one way that it could be done. A 1% tax, a world peace tax, once a year on the collective net worth of every single billionaire on planet Earth. Let us know what you think. Is that realistic? Is it practicable? Could we do it? And are the billionaires willing to? Hopefully they are, because they too will benefit greatly from a world that is peaceful and prosperous, where the air is clean, where climate change is tackled successfully, and where peace, freedom, and security prevail all across the world, and ultimately where poverty is ended once and for all. Let us know what you think. The UN is awesome in so many ways. Give it a chance, have a look, and hopefully we can salvage and really turn it into something that it's never really been allowed to do. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe. Please like. Please click on the old notification button and help us to keep going with our message of global unity, world citizenship, and the promise of democracy tomorrow.